Welcome back.
We're glad you clicked on us, the Superbook Show.
Okay, so Josie, today in history class, we talked about Martin Luther King Jr. And I wanted to ask you, what comes to mind when you think about Dr. King?
That he had a dream?
Definitely, but what about him as a person? Any thoughts?
Well, I know he led a big part of the civil rights movement.
Well, yeah, the bus boycotts, restaurant sit-ins, marches, and a host of other things. Anything else?
I don't know, he was a good person who gave speeches.
All true. But one thing that people tend to forget is that Dr. King's full title was Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
So what are you saying?
He was a preacher. He was a man of faith.
Oh, yeah. People don't really talk about that part a lot. Not at school, anyway.
It's often overlooked that the civil rights movement started in the church.
Wow. Yeah, you're right.
It all began within the Black church and grew to be interdenominational.
Whoa, slow down. Big word.
That just means when Dr. King marched, he marched alongside people from different kinds of churches, Protestants and Catholics.
Well, if it was different kinds of churches, then it must have been different races of people too, right?
People from different classes and races.
That seems to be the way things should be.
Yes, ideally.
Christians should be on the same page to make good things happen.
I agree. Today's world is very divided, especially in the church.
I wonder why.
I don't think there's an easy answer to that. When it comes to things like race and things that people label as political, people start getting uncomfortable.
I know. I think people just don't want to deal with the tough stuff, but it's getting pretty hard to ignore now. You know what? Maybe one reason Christians are so divided on race is because we forgot who gave the Reverend Dr. King his dream.
Huh?
If the civil rights movement began in the church, then I'm sure a lot of people prayed and sought God before they started marching.
Makes sense.
So if a lot of thought, prayer, and seeking God went into this, then it's probably a good chance that God gave Dr. King his dream.
I mean...
Well, no, think about it. Take the I Have a Dream speech specifically.
I have a dream.
Dr. King talks about injustice. Injustices in policing, in voting, and all throughout society.
Yes, he did.
Live out the true meaning of its creed.
In Psalms, it says righteousness and justice are the foundations of God's throne. And in Isaiah, it says to defend and help the oppressed.
God is a God of righteousness and justice. It's not one or the other.
We can't focus on one part of God and then ignore the other.
We should all pray for our hearts. Pray that God would remove and heal what keeps us divided and fighting each other.
I agree. We should pray that Dr. King's dream becomes a reality.
His word is forever alive. Check out thesuperbookshow.com to learn more about righteousness and justice. Live the dream!